Ozone for Life. This year, we celebrate 35 years of global ozone layer protection. Peace be upon you all. I am Via Mary Vincent of class 11th. Respecting our rich tradition, let's start this event with a prayer. For the same, may I invite Fatima Sharif.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين
Thank you, Fatima. Now I would like to invite our pillar of strength and our constant source of motivation, our principal, Mr. Nias Tirakara, to address this gathering.
Peace be upon you all. Dear students, teachers, and parents, a very warm evening to one and all. As you all know, today is World Ozone Day, September 16. As a part of this day, our school has started preparing very well ahead, and we have started conducting programs in the school, competition among students. And on this day, as part of observing Ozone Day, we're very lucky to have Dr. Ibrahim Khalil, who's a scientist in German Aerospace Center. He's a senior scientist there, and he hails from a small village in Kasaragod district. And he had his schooling in KV at Kasaragod. Later, he started studying in uh, outside India, and then he's able to procure a job in a prestigious institution like German Aerospace Center. And our students are very lucky to have to get a chance to interact with him, and he talks to our students about the world he lives, about the way to reach there, and about the concerns of the students. And we have one more eminent personality with us, that is Dr. Govindan Kuti, who is a retired scientist from Hava Atomic Research Center, India. And he's the keynote speaker or chief guest of this assembly. So I'm very happy about both of their presence and our students' performance. And our students also speak in this assembly. And hopefully, it will be a great evening to all of us. And I wish all the very best to all of us. And I urge the students and teachers and parents to take all necessary steps to protect, to take care of ozone layer around the earth. As we all know, it is under threat because of the emission of many toxic acids, gas from many machines that we use. So it's our mother earth. So we have to take care of ozone layer and environment in the earth. So let this day be. Let us all take a pledge to take care of our environment, to take all the measures that safeguard, protect the ozone layer around us. Thank you and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much, sir. Why is Ozone Day celebrated on 16 September? Yes, we all are having the doubt from the starting itself. Here is your answer. In 1994, the UN General Assembly proclaimed that 16 September the International Ozone Day for the preservation of the ozone layer, commemorating the date of the signing in 1947 of the Montreal Protocol in the substances that deplete the ozone layer. I invite the honorable personality of today, Dr. Govindan Kuti, the retired scientist from Atomic Research Center, Trompe, to give a message on Ozone Day.
Hello, good morning. പാവറട്ടി സെൽഫ് സെയ്ദ് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് സ്കൂളിലെ പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട വിദ്യാർത്ഥികളെ, ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട അധ്യാപകരെ, ഞാനാണ് ഡോക്ടർ ഗോവിന്ദൻകുട്ടി. ഞാൻ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റ് ഓഫ് അറ്റോമിക് എനർജിയിലെ ഒരു ശാസ്ത്രജ്ഞനായിരുന്നു. ഇപ്പോൾ ശാസ്ത്ര സാങ്കേതിക പാർക്ക് വിജ്ഞാന സാഗർ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ശാസ്ത്ര സാങ്കേതിക പാർക്കിൽ കുട്ടികളെ പഠിപ്പിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി ഇടയ്ക്ക് പോകാം. അപ്പോൾ എന്താണ് ശാസ്ത്രം? നമുക്കറിയണ്ടേ എന്താണ് ശാസ്ത്രം? ശാസ്ത്രം എന്നാൽ അറിയാനുള്ള വ്യഗ്രത. നമുക്ക് നമ്മൾ ശാസ്ത്രം എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ അറിവാണ്. സത്യാന്വേഷണത്തിലുള്ള മാർഗമാണ് ശാസ്ത്രം. ശാസ്ത്രത്തെ അറിയാൻ നമ്മൾ പ്രകൃതിയെക്കുറിച്ച് പഠിക്കണം. പ്രകൃതിയിലെല്ലാം ഉണ്ട്. പ്രകൃതി നമുക്കൊരു അമ്മയെ പോലെയാണ്. പ്രകൃതി അറിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മളെല്ലാം അറിഞ്ഞു. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ പ്രകൃതിയിലെ രഹസ്യങ്ങൾ അറിഞ്ഞ് മനസ്സിലാക്കലാണ് ശാസ്ത്രജ്ഞൻ്റെ ജോലി. അപ്പം ശാസ്ത്രം ജയിക്കണമെങ്കിൽ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിക്കണം. ചോദ്യം ചോദിക്കുന്നത് അത്യാവശ്യമാണ്. അങ്ങനെ ചോദ്യം ചെയ്യലാണ് സയൻസിൻ്റെ വളർച്ചയ്ക്ക് കാരണം. ഇനി നമുക്ക് ഓസോൺ നിങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞു സെപ്റ്റംബർ 16 ഓസോൺ ഡേയാണ്. എന്താണ് ഓസോണിൻ്റെ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻസ്? നമ്മൾ ഭൂമിയിൽ ജീവിക്കുന്ന ഓസോൺ പാളി കൊണ്ടാണ്. ഓസോൺ പാളി ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് ഭൂമിയിൽ ജീവിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ഓസോൺ പാളികൾ എവിടെയുള്ളത്? സ്ട്രാറ്റോസ്ഫിയറിൽ 30 കിലോമീറ്ററിന് മുകളിലാണ് കിടക്കുന്നത്. 30 കിലോമീറ്റർ 50 കിലോമീറ്റർ ഇടയ്ക്കാണ് ഈ ഓസോൺ പാളി കിടക്കുന്നത്. ഈ ഓസോൺ പാളി എന്താ ചെയ്യുന്നത്? UV റേസിനെ, സൂര്യനിൽ നിന്ന് വരുന്ന UV റേസിനെ പ്രൊട്ടക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യണം. UV റേസിനെ ഒരു സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് അവിടെ സ്റ്റോപ്പാക്കും. ഭൂമിയിലേക്ക് അലവില്ല വരാൻ. UV റേസ് വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് സ്കിന്നിന് ബേൺ സംഭവിക്കാം, സ്കിൻ ക്യാൻസർ ഉണ്ടാകും. ഇവിടെ ജീവിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല. നമുക്കറിയാം ഭൂമിയിൽ ആദ്യം ജീവൻ ഉണ്ടായത് എവിടെയാണ്? വെള്ളത്തിലാണ് അല്ലേ? എന്താ കാരണം? അന്ന് ഭൂമിയിൽ ജീവിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല. കാരണം ഇവിടെ ഓക്സിജൻ ഇല്ല. ഓക്സിജൻ ഇല്ലാത്ത കാരണം ഓസോൺ പാളികളുണ്ടല്ലേ മുകളിൽ. അപ്പോൾ ജീവികൾക്ക് ജീവിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന അവസ്ഥയായി. എല്ലാ UV റേസും ഡയറക്റ്റ് ഭൂമിയിൽ വന്ന് വീഴും. അപ്പോൾ ഭൂമിയിലെ ജീവിതം ഇമ്പോസിബിളായി. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ട് ആദ്യം ജീവികളുണ്ടായത് വെള്ളത്തിലാണ്. വെള്ളത്തിലെ ഒരു പ്ലാന്റൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടായി. അവിടെ ഫോട്ടോസിന്തസിസ് വഴി ഓക്സിജൻ ജനറേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് ഭൂമിയിൽ നിറച്ച് ഓക്സിജൻ നിറഞ്ഞു. ആ ഓക്സിജനും UV റേസും കൂടി റിയാക്ട് ചെയ്ത് ഓസോൺ പാളികളുണ്ടായി മുകളിൽ. ആ ഓസോൺ പാളികളാണ് നമ്മൾ പ്രൊട്ടക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഇപ്പം എന്താ ഉണ്ടാവുന്നത്? നമ്മുടെ അതിജീവനത്തിൻ്റെ മാർഗമായി നമ്മൾ കണ്ടമാനം എയർ കണ്ടീഷണറും ഫ്രിഡ്ജൊക്കെ ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. ഈ ഫ്രിഡ്ജിൽ ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്ന ഒരു കെമിക്കലാണ് CFC, ക്ലോറോഫ്ലൂറോ കാർബൺ. ഈ ക്ലോറോഫ്ലൂറോ കാർബൺ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും? ഇതൊരു ഗ്യാസാണ്. ഇത് ഗ്യാസ് ഈ ഫ്രിഡ്ജിലൊക്കെ ലീക്ക് ചെയ്ത് പുറത്തേക്ക് വരും. അത് മുകളിലേക്ക് പോയിട്ട് UV റേസ് റിയാക്ട് ചെയ്ത് അതിന് ക്ലോറിൻ പുറത്തേക്ക് വരും. ആ ക്ലോറിനാണ് ഈ ഓസോൺ പാളി കൊല്ലുന്നത്. ഒരു കണക്ക് പറയാൻ എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ ഒരു ക്ലോറിൻ ആറ്റം ക്യാൻ കിൽ 1 lakh ഓസോൺ മോളിക്യൂൾസ്. അപ്പോൾ നോക്കൂ അവരുടെ ശക്തി നോക്കൂ. ഇപ്പോൾ CFCയുടെ ഇപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ 72 ശേഷം കണ്ടമാനം ഫ്രിഡ്ജും AC കണ്ടമാനം ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങി. അപ്പോൾ 1970 ഉണ്ടായിരുന്ന ക്ലോറിൻ്റെ അളവ് ഇന്നതിനെ കമ്പയർ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ 1992 2 ഇരട്ടി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു ക്ലോറിൻ്റെ അളവ്. 1% ഓസോൺ കുറയുമ്പോൾ 2% കൂടുതൽ UV റേസ് ഭൂമിയിലേക്ക് വിടാൻ തുടങ്ങും. അപ്പോൾ ഓസോൺ പാളികളെ നമ്മൾ പ്രൊട്ടക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യണം. അതിനാണ് നമ്മളുടെ ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ ഈ മോൺട്രിയാൽ 1987 UN ഒരു പ്രത്യേക അസംബ്ലി വിളിച്ചു കൂട്ടി. അതിനെ പറഞ്ഞ മോൺട്രിയാൽ കൺവെൻഷൻ. ആ കൺവെൻഷനിൽ എല്ലാ രാജ്യങ്ങളും ഡെവലപ്ഡ് കൺട്രീസൊക്കെ പങ്കെടുത്തു. അവർ കൂടെ എല്ലാവരും ഒരു തീരുമാനം ഉണ്ടാക്കി ഓസോൺ പാളികളെ പ്രൊട്ടക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യണമെന്ന്. അതിനുവേണ്ടി അവർ ഒരു ഡ്രാഫ്റ്റ് ഉണ്ടാക്കി. ആ ഡ്രാഫ്റ്റ് അസംബ്ലി എല്ലാവരും വായിച്ചു നോക്കി. എല്ലാ രാജ്യങ്ങളും അംഗീകരിച്ചു. അങ്ങനെ 1987 സെപ്റ്റംബർ 16 അതിനെ UN അസംബ്ലി പാസ്സാക്കി. അതിനാണ് നമ്മൾ ഓസോൺ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അതായത് നമ്മളെല്ലാവരും ജോലിയാണ് ഓസോൺ ലെയറിനെ പ്രൊട്ടക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. അപ്പോൾ ഓസോൺ ലെയറിന് ഡാമേജ് സംഭവിക്കുന്ന കെമിക്കലൊക്കെ സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്യാൻ എല്ലാ കൺട്രികളും അവരുടെ കഴിവിനനുസരിച്ച് നോക്കണം. അതായത് CFC സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്യണം, മീഥൈൽ ക്ലോറോഫോൺ സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്യണം, CCl4 സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്യണം. അതുപോലുള്ള മറ്റേ കെമിക്കൽ ഓസോണിന് ഡാമേജ് വരുന്ന കെമിക്കലൊക്കെ സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്യാൻ 2000 ശേഷം സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്യാൻ അങ്ങനെ എല്ലാ രാജ്യങ്ങളും എഗ്രി ചെയ്യും. അതാണ് സെപ്റ്റംബർ 16 ഈ കൺവെൻഷൻ എല്ലാ UN അഡോപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത്. അതിൻ്റെ ഓർമ്മയ്ക്കാണ് നമ്മൾ ഈ ഓസോൺ ദിനമായിട്ട് ആചരിക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഓസോൺ ദിനത്തിൻ്റെ പ്രത്യേക ഇതാണ്. ഓസോൺ നമ്മൾ എന്തായാലും നമ്മുടെ ജീവിതം നിലനിൽക്കുന്ന ഓസോൺ വേണം. ഓസോൺ പാളി വേണം. ഓസോൺ പാളികൾക്ക് ശോഷണം വരാൻ പാടില്ല. 1979-85 കാലത്ത് അന്റാർട്ടിക്കയിലെ മേലെ വലിയൊരു ഹോള് കണ്ടു. ആ ഹോളിൻ്റെ ഡയമീറ്റർ എത്രയെന്നറിയോ? ചെറുതൊന്നുമല്ല. അതിൻ്റെ മില്യൺ കിലോമീറ്റർ സ്ക്വയറാണ് അതിൻ്റെ ഹോൾ. അത് കേരളത്തിൻ്റെ ഏരിയകളിലൊക്കെ 1000 മടങ്ങ് വലിപ്പമുണ്ടായിരുന്നു ആ ഹോളിൻ്റെ സൈസ്. അതിൽ കൂടെ ഓസോൺ ആ ഹോളിൽ കൂടെ യു വി റേസ് ഭൂമിയിൽ വന്നിട്ട് ഇവിടെ കാലാവസ്ഥയ്ക്ക് മാറ്റം വന്നു. നമ്മുടെ പോളാറുള്ള ഐസൊക്കെ മെൽറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ തുടങ്ങി. ഇത് ഈ അന്റാർട്ടിക്ക പോളാർ ഈ ധ്രുവപ്രദേശങ്ങളല്ലേ, അതിൽ കൂടെ വന്ന് ധ്രുവപ്രദേശങ്ങളിൽ വീണ് ഐസ് മെൽറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ തുടങ്ങി. കാലാവസ്ഥയ്ക്ക് വലിയ മാറ്റം വന്നു. അപ്പോൾ കാലാവസ്ഥ വ്യതിയാനത്തെ വലിയൊരു കാരണം ഈ യു വി റേസാണ്, ഈ ഓസോൺ പാളികളിൽ ഉണ്ടായ ഹോളാണ്. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്കറിയാം ഈ കാലഘട്ടത്തിലെ ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാന സംഭവം കാലാവസ്ഥയിൽ വരുന്ന മാറ്റമാണ്. അതിൻ്റെ ഫലമാണ് ആഗോളതാപനം. നിങ്ങൾ കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ ഗ്രേറ്റ തെമ്പെ കേട്ടോ അല്ലേ? ഒരു സ്വീഡിഷ് സ്റ്റുഡൻറ്റ്, കുട്ടികളെപ്പോലെ ഒരു കുട്ടി, ആ കുട്ടി ഇതുവേണ്ടി UN പോയി പ്രസംഗിച്ചു. സ്വീഡിഷ് പാർലമെൻറ്റിന് മുമ്പിൽ അവർ ഫാസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തു, അവർ സ്കൂളിലൊക്കെ സ്ട്രൈക്ക് ചെയ്തു. അവർ നിങ്ങളെപ്പോലുള്ള ഒരു ചെറിയ കുട്ടിയാണ്. അവർ പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു പ്രധാന ഒരു വേർഡ്സാണത്, യു വിൽ ഡൈ ഓഫ് ഓൾഡ് ഏജ്, യു വിൽ ഡൈ ഓഫ് ക്ലൈമറ്റ് ചേഞ്ച്. അതേപോലെ എന്നെപ്പോലുള്ള വയസ്സായാലൊക്കെ വയസ്സായിട്ട് മരിക്കും, നിങ്ങളെപ്പോലുള്ള ചെറിയ കുട്ടികളൊക്കെ മരിക്കുക ക്ലൈമറ്റ് ചേഞ്ച് ഉണ്ടെന്ന് അവർ പറഞ്ഞു. വലിയ കാര്യമില്ലത്. ഇങ്ങനെ ക്ലൈമറ്റ് ചേഞ്ച് മാറിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മൾക്കൂടെ ജീവിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല. അപ്പോൾ അവരുടെ വാക്കുകൾ വളരെ, നിങ്ങളത് അതുപോലെ, നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരും കുട്ടികൾ, നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരും അതുപോലെ പ്രവർത്തിക്കണം, നിങ്ങൾ അവരെ പോലെ ആവണം. പിന്നെ എനിക്കധികം സമയമില്ല, ഞാൻ മേരി ക്യൂറിയുടെയും, നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയില്ല മേരി ക്യൂറി, ഒരു പ്രധാനമായ ഒരു പ്രശസ്തയായ ശാസ്ത്രജ്ഞ, അവർ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് അവരുടെ ഫേമസ് വേർഡ്സ് ഉണ്ട്, ഇതാണ്: നത്തിങ് ഇൻ ലൈഫ് ഹാസ് ടു ബി ഫിയർഡ്, ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ബി അണ്ടർസ്റ്റുഡ്. മോർ യു അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് തിങ്സ്, ലെസ് യു വിൽ ഫിയർ ഫോർ ദം. ജീവിതത്തിലൊന്നും ഭയപ്പെടേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല, എല്ലാം മനസ്സിലാക്കുക വേണ്ടു. അപ്പം നിങ്ങൾ ശ്രദ്ധയോടെ പിടിച്ച് മനസ്സിലാക്കുക, ശാസ്ത്രാവബോധം വളർത്തിയെടുക്കുക. നിങ്ങൾ വീടുകളിലും ലൈബ്രറിയിലും ക്ലാസ് റൂമിലൊക്കെ ശാസ്ത്രത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് നിങ്ങൾ ഇത് നടത്തണം, ഡിബേറ്റ് നടത്തണം. ശാസ്ത്രം എന്താണെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കണം. ഈ വീട്ടിൽ പോയിട്ട് അച്ഛനമ്മോട് പറയണം, ഇങ്ങനെ ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് കണ്ടു, എന്ത് കണ്ടു, ഇങ്ങനെ ശാസ്ത്രാവബോധം വളർത്തുക. അതാണ് നമുക്ക് സമൂഹത്തിന് ഏറ്റവും ആവശ്യം. അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും നല്ലൊരു ഭാവി പ്രദാനം ചെയ്യുന്നു. എല്ലാവർക്കും വിഷ് യു എ വെരി ഹാപ്പി ഓസോൺ ഡേ. താങ്ക് യു വെരി മച്ച്. ഹാവ് എ ഗുഡ് ഡേ. ബൈ.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with your magical words. Now, I would like to invite Amina Shahrin from 9th A to deliver a speech on Ozone Day.
Peace be upon you all. I'm Amina Sharan of class 9th A. Today I'm here to say a few words on World Ozone Day. World Ozone Day, September 16, is designed by United Nations General Assembly as International Day for the preservation of the ozone layer. Ozone is a trioxygen ignorical molecule having a pale blue color and pungent smell. Its formula is O3, which means trioxygen. It is not only a molecule having a pungent smell, it is a protective layer around the earth. The layer which protects the earth from different hazard gases and attack of bursting star in space. Scientists proved that fission reactions are continuously taking place in sun and other stars. The chemical gases and other reaction products directly reach to the earth. It will be very dangerous for safely and survival of the earth. Mainly, ozone layer protects the earth from the ultraviolet rays, which are very hazardous for the earth. Ozone is therefore a very protective layer for earth. But unfortunately, due to the excessive use of chlorofluorocarbons, our refrigerators, air conditioner, these chlorofluorocarbons are responsible for gradual depletion of ozone, observed a hole in ozone layer, which is alarming for the world. So, create the awareness and to acquire environmental friendly techniques to reduce the use of chlorofluorocarbons. UN General Assembly proposed to celebrate World Ozone Day. This decision was taken in 1994, and since the World Ozone Day is celebrated every year on 16th September, this day is celebrated worldwide, national and international levels. Government of different countries conducts awareness program and ceremonies to spread the use of environmental friendly and ozone protective products. Different programs are also conducted in the schools and colleges and teachers young ones how to protect our world. Different activities are managed by the teachers to develop the awareness in students so they can learn the use of environmental friendly and ozone protective techniques. Scientists and researchers proved that use of hydrochlorocarbons in place of chlorofluorocarbon is less dangerous according to In research, hydrofluorocarbons have zero ozone depletion. Potential scientists have also observed that ozone depletion level has been lowering since the useful of hydrofluorocarbon instead of chlorofluorocarbons. People should also take measures to save the world, otherwise this will end soon. Let us promise ourselves on this World Ozone Day that we will not perform any such activity which will be the reason of ozone depletion. Ozone not just a layer but a protector. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Amina, for your beautiful speech on Ozone Day. Listening something new and special makes our day fantastic and cheerful. So for that, I would like to invite Angelina and Fida for a song on Ozone Day.
It's like the bright sunshine, but its rays are dull of the friendly kind. You embrace each skin, you be raised but a bunch of skin. Guess you thought it was all bad news. Ultraviolet lightning's what's emitted in her, in you.
Trees are just humans that had to take care of ultraviolet traveling through space and air. We phytoplanktons living in the sea. For photosynthesis need UV, but too much bleaches out the green and damages out DNA. Yes, we be
Having a hard time for many years, but now let's celebrate, look and cheer. The big Antarctic ozone hole is healing the dance to the Montreal Protocol. Healing dance to the Montreal Protocol. Healing dance to the protocol. But international action has succeeded in reversing ozone secret. Hooray, hooray, hooray!
here they had full fighting fit, floating phytoplanktons living in the big red sea. Tiny mighty throwing triumphalistic phytoplanktons dancing nature's choreography in sprinkle toes on dancing nature's choreography thanks to ozone dancing nature's choreography.
I'm profusely elated to invite our chief guest, young scientist of German Aerospace Institute. He has secured his PhD in mechanical engineering from Torino, Italy. He is a versatile and knowledgeable person who has got a wonderful opportunity to visit NASA as a scientist as well as with the Department of Aeronautics and Astronautics in Washington. Yes, with heart full of excitement, I invite Mr. Ibrahim Khalil to address this gathering.
So thank you, Ria, for the introduction. My name is Dr. Ibrahim Khalid. So I come from a small village in district of Kasaragod, Kerala. So currently I serve as a research scientist at German Aerospace Center, which is, as mentioned, an equivalent to NASA in the US, or we have ISRO in India. So it's basically the space agency of Germany, which also works in collaboration with ESA, which is the European Space Agency. And I work in an institute called Institute for Test and Simulation of Gas Turbine Engines. So basically, gas turbine engine is the engine you see in the planes. And my work here is basically to try to develop new materials for these engines, which probably would come into play, say, 10 years down the line. Like here, these days, environmental issue is a big thing, and I don't know how many of you know, aircraft engines are one of the most polluting, how do I say, product out there. And one of the ways where you can actually improve or reduce the pollution from these engines is to improve a lot of aspects of the engine as such. And my basic area of work is to try to develop these new materials so that it can handle higher temperature, because right now the engines can handle say 800 degrees, and every degree you increase inside the engine, you can actually reduce the pollution, the nitrous oxide, the carbon dioxide which comes out of it. So that is the work I do right now. And fortunately I did have how do I say, I was lucky enough to travel around and work and study along with it. So as I said, I did my bachelor's, like I did all my schooling in Kasaragod in Kendriya Vidyalaya. And I moved to Manipal for my bachelor's in aeronautical engineering from 2009 to 2013. And in 2013, I moved to Germany to take up my master's in Ruhr University Bochum. It's like northwest of Germany, near the old capital Bonn of Germany, of West Germany. And then in 2015, I finished my master's, got an opportunity to do PhD as a part of a European Union program, which is called Marie Curie, named after the famous scientist, Marie Curie. So through which I moved to Torino, which is a city close to Milan in Italy, in the university, or I should say a college called Politecnico di Torino, where I started my PhD. And during the course of my PhD, as I said, as it's already told here, I got this opportunity to spend some time in the US. I was in Seattle. I was also in Cleveland, in Purdue University, which is one of the universities where Neil Armstrong came from, so the first man on the moon. So I got this opportunity to spend some time there, and in 2019, I finished my PhD, moved back to Germany, and that's where I am today. And yeah, it's a brief introduction from my end, I'd say. Thank you.
Now, who is ready to ask the question first?
I'm Achmal. I'd like to ask you that. Why do you choose German aerospace instead of ISRO?
So, to put it in this way, I would say when I finished my PhD, I was looking for opportunities which kind of aligned with what I really wanted to do. So, to put in simple terms, what my PhD work was, basically, I was trying to develop these tools which would make designing new materials easier. And when I was looking around for the opportunities in those domains, I could not definitely find something which was in line with what I was doing in India. And probably one of the options I had was in German Aerospace Center.
And the second question is that what do you miss the most about Kerala now?
Single-handedly the food. Because I think we all take it for granted when we are back home, the kind of availability of food we have. And of course, with the technology we have today, it's much easier to be in touch with your family. So it's WhatsApp or Skype and stuff. So with family, it's still manageable, but food cannot be sent over Skype. So you have to really cook yourself stuff. But I am a pretty decent cook, so I like to cook a lot. So I do cook, but like it's as simple as it's evening at 4 p.m. and if you really want to eat something, you can go out, and you have a lot of street foods in India. You can walk into any hotel and eat something, and that kind of, how do I say, freedom is something you don't get here. So single-handedly, the something I miss the most is the food.
Next, anyone? Please ask the question.
Hi, sir. My name is Tanima, and my question is, when was your last visit to Kerala, and how do you remember your school days in Kerala?
Oh, nice. That's a nice question. So, yeah, I visited India actually last December. So I was there for it was not too long because I had some vacation issues, but essentially in December 2019, just before this whole Corona pandemic broke out, I was lucky enough to go because I hadn't gone for almost 1.5 years. And yeah, and I had to, so miss about school days. I think life is a lot more simpler when you are in school. Probably you guys don't realize it now. because as and when you start growing, I think you kind of realize that things were a lot simpler. The most complicated or stress you ever had was to finish your homework, maybe, or to give exams, and things go south from there since you leave school. But yeah, like I was in, like I said, I was in Kendriya Vidyalaya number 1 CPCR, right, Kasargod. So I spent from my 7th to 12th, I spent there, and from my first standard to 7th standard, I spent in a school called Little Lily, which is quite close to my house. So things I miss about school, I think we were a small school, so we had a very close set of friends, which was nice. And then yeah, okay, yeah. Then I think especially like the school I was in, we had a lot of interactive things to do, which is quite nice, which is something very common with Kendriya Vidyalayas.
And I have one more question. And my second question is that who is the most encouraging person in your life?
In my life, I would say my mom, easily, hands down. So I think we had this conversation with Fasila ma'am. Like in my family, like I don't like my parents were not as educated as in general people in Kerala are. Like it's something very common, especially unfortunately among the Muslim households in Kasargod or in Kerala, I would say. So they kind of made sure that like both my mom and dad, they kind of did most of the, like they did not study beyond school. So they kind of made sure that we did our schooling, we did our education. So my sister finished her MBBS. She's a doctor now. My brother has done his degree in finance, working in Dubai right now. So they made sure that you kind of push yourself and make sure you at least have one degree. So everyone in my family has at least one degree, and my mom is still pushing my brother to do his second one. So single-handedly, it's I think something which I would say as a personality, it's easily my mom.
And thirdly, who is asking next?
Sir, my name is Siddha. What values have you learned from your parents? Do you maintain your family habits there?
What are the habits I learned from my parents, and do I maintain it here? That's what you ask?
Yes.
Okay. What are the habits I learned from my... a lot of people say a lot of my mannerisms are very similar to my dad. So probably that. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, I love to cook. Probably it's something which I started because I used to spend time with my moms once in a while in the kitchen. So that's where probably the love for food or love for cooking started for me. And like I mentioned earlier, something about education, there's something they always made sure that we did. And I think all of us kind of got educated, which is quite nice. And it's something I learned, I would say.
One more question, sir.
Sure.
What surprised you the most in Germany more than Kerala?
Okay, that's a strong question. So when generally a lot of people move from, say, India to abroad, people generally call it cultural shock. I mean, what they mean to say is the difference in culture or how things are in, say, back home, like something which you took for granted, and then you move abroad and you see it can be a little difficult for you. Like something as simple as like family values, like back home in India, like we are very closely knitted, right? So we are like, we talk to our family every day, we make sure we meet everyone and things like that. But when you come here, you see that, I mean, I'm not saying it in the wrong way, because people have different cultural values. Like here, people are very nuclear, or in the sense that like everyone for themselves kind of a culture here, which is like very personal, I would say. It's not very community kind of a culture we have back home. So that's something new. And then on the bright side, things are very organized here. Like if they say a train is going to arrive at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m., the train will arrive at 5 p.m. So, and say if you have to deal with bureaucracy or things like that. So things are super organized. People follow the law. Like you can be in the busiest of the highways here in Germany and not hear anyone honk. And you could try that back home, and I think it's impossible. So there are like And essentially there are a lot of differences, something which you get used to essentially. So
So next, please.
Hi, sir. I'm Tamanna from class 9. My question is, during your master's studies, how do you deal with the researchers at various institutes?
okay, that's a nice question. Nice. So I had made a plan before I did my masters. If I think I have mentioned it already at Ruhr University, Germany. And the good system here is Germany is research universities. I mean, universities are very research focused. So I made this plan. So what basically I did was, okay, I should get to the. So here in Germany, the education system is very flexible. So like in India, like I'm sure, I mean, you guys haven't gone through the university yet, but you would see that most of the subjects for you is actually pre-decided. So you would know in which semester you would learn which subjects, in second semester which subjects, third, etc. But here in Germany, it doesn't work that way. So what you generally do is they tell you these are the list of subjects, and say that there are subjects worth 200 credits or 200 credits. I think you know that system. And you have to finish 90 of them. So it's up to you. How do you take it? When do you take it, etc. So that kind of flexibility you have. So what I did was in my first semester, out of the 90 credits, I completed the 60 credits. So first semester, I gave almost, I think, 9 or 10 exams. So I kind of finished most of my credits in my first semester. So then what I had was in my second and third semester, I hardly had any classes to take. So I could focus a lot of time towards research. So that's how I signed up for research in 2 different institutes. So, and but again, you should realize that the research you do is almost in line with the masters you are doing. So it's not like it's a completely different topic. So that way, you are actually improving your curriculum as well as you're trying to do something new. So it helps you in both ways. So the reason why I could do it is because of the flexibility the education system gives here. And also the fact that I had realized that I want to spend more time in research before I graduate. And I kind of planned it that way.
Next, Abdullah.
Sir,
Hi, Abdullah.
sir, I am Atif Yusuf. Sir, I am Atif Yusuf from 8th B, and my question is: when and what was the spark that lit in fire inside you?
Right. Thank you for the question. I was actually thinking about this today because I was like, okay, maybe these are the kind of questions you might ask. So I was somebody who was always interested in, let's say, engineering and stuff. Like, if you ask my mom, she would never let me stay alone at home when I was a kid because I would like to open things and get electrocuted and stuff like that. So I think I always had this curious mind that way. I would like to think so. And you know, like the school projects you do, like you have to make a box where if you put a coin, the light glows, you know, things like that. I mean, we used to do it. I don't know whether you guys do it anymore. And in school too. So if you ask my colleagues, so if you ask my school classmates, I used to be somebody who would always jump in for all the science projects. It doesn't matter what came along. Like I remember in my 11th standard, I spent almost half a month traveling for science. I think it was like a science council meeting in Bangalore where I presented something to do with how our brains work when we sleep. And I would also go for social science stuff. I would sing in the choir group, even though I was not a good singer. I would do dramatics, even though I was not a good actor. So it's something, I mean, whatever options came into me, I would just take it and try to do it. So I think I was always curious about things and not really worried about whether I would, like successfully complete it or not. I think I was always very curious guy, and I still would like to say I'm still curious, and that's probably what led to all the things I did on where I am today. So but that was a nice question. Thank you.
Sir, I am studying in 8th, and how can I start preparation to reach such a position like you?
Okay. I think when I was in 8th standard, I didn't really think that way. So I don't think you have to prepare yourself for it. I think in general, just have a lot of passion with what you're doing, have this focus, have a curious mind, don't just, the one problem which I generally see with the Indian education system is we are actually forced a lot to by heart and not really understand. And it's not just the school system. Like I was in the college in India too, and most of it was just by hearting. And I could see that difference when you came to Germany, where people are so applied. So I think have a curious mind, try doing a lot of things, and now.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, now next one.
Hello, sir. Maisha Bubakar. And my question is, how is the procedure for getting admission in foreign research institute?
Foreign research institutes. Okay. So generally, like, I don't know whether you guys already know, in India, there is a system called placement in universities, where like how it works in India is like, say, after your 12th, you go to a college, you get your engineering degree, medicine, no, engineering degree. And what happens is companies come to you or institutes come to you and try to recruit. But abroad, it doesn't work that way. So what generally happens is you get your degree and then you start applying to different companies. So essentially, if you are interested in research, what I would say is kind of start doing small research projects when you are in universities and kind of build. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be part of your grade or anything like that. Like most of the research I did in my master's was not part of any grade. I did not get any grade, but I did learn a lot. So I think you could do that. And once you have it, generally how it works is you start emailing professors or research groups which you like. So you can go to their website and see what kind of research they do. And what you can do is download the papers they publish and go through it. And if you think the kind of work they do is very nice and it actually interests you, then you could send them a mail explaining what you have done so far, like attach your CV with it, and then look forward for. That's how I have done it.
Thank you, sir. And I also have one question to ask.
Sure.
What's your inspiration behind the excellence in 3 different engineering branches?
Right. When I was in school, I really liked chemistry. I don't know, maybe it's because our chemistry teacher was very good, or I still remember Sugitams. So something which I really liked. But then, I had decided that I would study in Manipal, and then I looked at the possible options, and chemical engineering was not actually one of the choices, because I hope there are like students who are from 12th here. What you should really understand is chemical engineering means chemistry, but it's actually process engineering. It's not really anything to do with chemistry. You hardly learn any chemistry there. So that is that, not to digress much. So the reason, I mean, I was always, how do I say, I mean, like all of us are, we always, I don't know, dream of being an astronaut or going to space and things like that. And that's essentially what led me to take aeronautical. Like my mom was not really up for the idea that I take aerospace, because she thought I would become a pilot, and she doesn't really like flying. But then, like aerospace is something which actually, I don't know, it inspires you in a lot of ways. Like, so that's one of the reason I took aerospace, and I had this opportunity to take aerospace. So that's how I took it.
Next, who is coming?
Hi, sir. I'm Shahid. What are the formalities to be followed by a citizen from India to continue his tenure there?
Right. So yeah, I think there's also a conversation I had with Fasila ma'am, because she also probably assumed that you need to have citizenship here if you want to do research in this field. So this is how it works. So there is a lot of technologies abroad which is very close, very secretive, right? Like you say rocket technology or nuclear technology. And if you're doing research in those technologies, they generally don't like to have people from abroad. So like here, if I applied for a research position which has to do with rocket stuff, they wouldn't take me, because there are restrictions, there are laws, and it's I mean, it's the same in India too. Like if I go to ISRO, or not me, if a non-Indian goes to ISRO and say, I want to work on your next PSLV launch, I'm sure the government wouldn't allow, because these are very closely kept technologies, and they really don't want to put it around. But the work I do here, even though I work on aircraft engine, which is again a very closely guarded technology, I don't directly work on the design aspect of it. So basically my job is to develop a tool which again will be used to make the engine. So I am like a one step behind. So security wise, it's okay. But then there are, it actually, like, to answer your question, it depends upon what are you working on. And there can be like in the US, if in US, I cannot work at say Boeing or GE, who makes aircraft engines or aircraft, because they have something called ITAR, which is like a regulation which kind of closely guards the technology, because it's a very highly sensitive stuff to do. So, but generally, if you are doing fundamental science research, like if you're learning about atoms and molecules and things like that, you wouldn't have to worry about these things. Only if you are working on very secretive research, only then such questions come into play. And in such opportunities, non-citizens of any country would not be able to take part.
Sir, I have one more question for you. What are the requirements needed to become an aeronautical engineer in Germany?
I mean, there is no requirement as such. Like once you finish your, you make sure you take physics and maths in your +2, and chemistry. I think you don't need to have biology, and you should be okay. And for aeronautics is a field which is very new in India, so you should keep in mind that the kind of opportunities you get after you do a bachelor's or master's even in India is very limited. Unless you want to do research, I think in research there is still a little bit of work. And essentially, it's not aeronautical. Any engineering as a field, I would say, is to have the basic requirement, which is generally, the grade. They say you have to score at least this much GPA and etc. And you take the right courses. So essentially, that is that. And make sure, I mean, if you're somebody who's applying for masters, you make sure you have enough project work, experience, etc. under your belt, internships, things like that. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Shahid.
Next, who is coming?
My name is Haifa. I'm from 10th standard. And my question is it tough as an Indian citizen to feel validated in the professional field of Germany?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I think generally, I mean, people do ask this question, and there is both yes and no to it, I would say. Like Europe is actually, I mean, when I say Europe, I don't include UK here. Well, Europe in general was not very receptive to immigration in general, I would say. I mean, receptive is the wrong word, but yeah, it was not easy. Like one simple example I would say is, if you go to any American universities, you could see that most of the professors, or even the dean of the school, the registrar of the university can be can be from India or China and stuff. But if you come to Germany or France, it's very rare to see a non-German professor or a non-German rector. So it's something which people are getting used to. But professionally, I think in a professional environment, people are very 100% very professional. So you don't have to really worry that people would discriminate against you just because you're from India. Probably people would have problems with you with the kind of work you do. And racism in that aspect it's not very common. So people are I mean, people do understand that a lot of smart Indians are coming abroad looking for opportunities, and people are making use of it. So I think Europe is opening up more now, so it's a good sign.
Thank you, Aifa. Next one, please come forward.
Please be funny, sir. My question is why pollution rate is lower in Germany as compared to India? Can you brief in your experience?
Right. I think it's a little unfair to compare Germany to India in a lot of ways, because Germany is a very developed country, and back in India we are still developing. So a lot of people are still very poor. Almost 300 million people are still very poor. So, but in general, I would say yes. It's because there is because the government here actually can afford to do a lot of these. How do I say law? Like here, most of the electricity you get is from renewable sources. There's a lot of windmills, there's a lot of solar paints all around here. And you would see that they have rules that in the city center, most of the diesel cars are not allowed, because diesel engines generally tend to produce more, how do I say, like more pollution essentially. So they have a lot of policies here which actually can help reducing pollution, and people are very aware also. So people make sure there are pro green steps taken. But I think comparing India is unfair because we are not in the same like level as where Germany is today. But I think the government already is taking up a lot of steps because it's also a good opportunity for India to kind of jump all the way from these non-renewable resource to to wind energy, which and solar energy, which the current government is trying to push.
Okay, next one.
Hi, sir. Myself, Mahmoud Raza. Sir, since we are on the grooming stage of our education, can you please elaborate your graduate and master's time and experience with us?
Sure. Like I said, like when I finished my 12th, I was very sure I wanted to do engineering. So that's why. So I think it's also important to have that kind of clarity, like what you really want to do. I mean, sometimes I know, like in India, it's very common that you're pressured to do something which you really don't want to do. So have that clarity of what. I mean, it doesn't have to be the engineering or the medicine. I mean, it's up to you. If you like law, take law. If you are into arts, take arts. But it should be something you're passionate about. I think that is more important than the subject in itself. Or see what kind of courses you could learn so that it is in line with the how do I say, the passion you have. So I think that is the first step. First step, understand what you like, and find a course which teaches you what you like, and take that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can come forward.
Peace be upon you, sir. My name is Lubana Nizam. I'm studying in Class 1 Commerce.
Hi.
So my question is, what are the normal procedures to get admission into any institute in Germany?
Okay. Standard procedure in the sense, like say, if you are doing after, like there are, like just to tell you guys, there are also possibilities after 12th. You could come here to do your bachelor's. A lot of students are already doing it. But then what happens is you might have to learn the German language, which could be a requirement. But in general, here is to have good grades, and each course specifically tells you how much is the minimum requirement you need. It doesn't matter which field you want to go. And it's also always good to learn. I mean, especially when you're coming to Europe, if you're say coming to Italy, it's good to learn Italian. If you're coming to Germany, it's good to learn German. The local language is not English, so it's since most of us are well versed in English, it's fine. But if you're coming to any European countries, it's always good to learn the local language. It's my suggestion to all of you guys today. Please, if you have the opportunity, learn how to code, because it is going to be as important as mathematics in the future, because coding is going to be a basic requirement. I mean, it already is. It doesn't matter what field you are in today. Like someone like me, I can be in aerospace, in medicine, or whichever field. Coding is something which can open a lot of doors for you. So yeah. So I think those are the basic requirements, Lubana.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lubana. Next one.
Hi, sir. I'm Amina Shirin from World Commerce. My question is, list of the documents needed to study in Germany for Indian students.
Right. I mean, it's similar to what Lubana asked. So, I mean, there isn't anything very specific to Indian student as such. So most of the universities in general ask for standard things. Like if you're like sometimes universities ask for English language certificate. Like I don't know how many of you know, there's something called IELTS and there is something called TOEFL. These are like the exams which you give to prove your English proficiency. So it could be that, or most of the German universities already know that we Indians learn everything in English in school and in college, so they accept that certificate too. So in general, that your degrees or certificates, your 10th and 12th certificates, and your CV. So, and if you learn German, you actually improve the chances of getting admission here. And I don't know, maybe a lot of people don't know, most of the German universities are tuition free. So even if you are non-German, you don't have to pay any tuition here. So it's actually almost free education here. So just to let you know. That's it. Yeah.
Next, Anisha M. from 11.
Hi sir, myself Amansha from class +1 Commerce. My question is, in our school living qualification or ends, or is there any special entrance test for university? German universities.
Right. Hi, Anisha. If you're coming for bachelor's, yes, I think you have to give the exam. I think they call it student colleague here. So it's similar to the entrance exams you give in India, like IIT or NEET exams you give. So they have similar exams here. So If you come for bachelor's, there are few exams and German language you have to do. But all these details, if you go to like study in Germany, there is a government website, so they kind of explains you all these stuff. So you can go in detail. They tell you what to do, and if you email them, they are very prompt. So yes, if you're going for bachelor's, it's very likely that you might have to give some exams and also German exams. But if you're going for masters, I think in most cases, no.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next one, Fida.
Hi, sir. I'm Fida from Plus One Science, and my question to you is this: what are the advantages does a student get in future if he or she studied in a German university?
I wouldn't say in Germany in general, but if you go abroad, I think it definitely adds up to your resume these days, for sure. So it's not just that, like, one instance would be you would be able to experience a different education system altogether. Like I said, in India, it's still very theoretical, the whole education system. But if you come here, you would see that it's exactly on the other side. It's so practical. Their whole approach to education itself is very practical oriented. So you could always make use of that. But then German education in general has very high value abroad. Like, it doesn't matter you are in India, I was in the US, I was in Italy, so they regard it very highly, the level of education you have here. And one thing also you should realize is the level of education doesn't really change between universities. Like in India, you say if you go to IIT, you get top-notch education, but if you go to, say, 200th rank college in India, maybe the kind of education you get is very, I wouldn't say low, but not as good. But here, it doesn't matter what kind of university you go to, the level of education in general is very good.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. The formal session has come to an end, and on my behalf, I would like to call Amna for her vote of thanks.
Principal Mr. Niyaz Chirukara, Vice Principal Ambiga Ma'am, Academic Supervisor Safa Ma'am, esteemed guest of honor Mr. Ibrahim Khalil, respected parents and dear brothers and sisters. Peace be upon you. It's my great privilege to show gratitude to the personality Mr. Ibrahim Khalil, who shared his most precious time for the students of Surside. It's our great experience with you, sir. It's our great pleasure to spend time with such an eminent personality who reached such big heights in a very young age. It inspires the next generation to stay optimistic and motivated, to work hard, and to reach their goals. Even in this great pandemic situation, we could have such a motivational class by Mr. Ibrahim Khalil. It means a lot to us, sir. Firstly, I thank our principal, Mr. Niyaz Chirukara, for providing such an opportunity to attend this gathering. Thank you, sir. Next, Vice Principal Ambiga Ma'am, who has been the backbone of Surside since a very long time. Thank you, ma'am. Next is the most respected Academic Supervisor, Safa Ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Now, let me thank the bunch of students and teachers who has been preparing for this occasion to become a great success. Last but not the least, I thank my dearest friends who has been cooperating for this program to become a great success. Once again, thank you all. Stay safe.